I'm going to show you how I threw my disc with 150 Gs of acceleration in disc golf. Let's go. Here's the throw I'm going to be analyzing. I put everything into Excel, made a scatter plot, and then animated the line that this graph follows. Here's it in 1/16th speed. So you can see the velocity is pretty slow and it has a huge jump right at around 100 milliseconds in. I gathered all this velocity time data by counting pixels on my screen and using the ratio of pixels to meters for the disc size in real life. Here's the spreadsheet behind the magic, and I wanted to calculate the peak acceleration of my throw. And so the largest acceleration is between this point here at 100 milliseconds and the next point here. So let's go to the data to check it out. At 100 milliseconds, the speed is 13.3 meters per second. And then at 104 milliseconds, the next time step, it's 19.56 meters per second, which equates to 29 and 43 miles per hour respectively. So let's go calculate acceleration. So the definition of acceleration is the change in velocity over the change in time. So I'm just converting miles per hour to meters per second right now so we can work in the proper units. And then I'm going to write the equation here. So delta V over delta T. Delta just means the change in. So that's going to be 19.5 meters per second minus 13.3 divided by 1 over 240 because I'm shooting at 240 frames per second. And now multiplying by 240 is the same as dividing by 1 over 240. So it gets us 1502.4 meters per second squared. And to calculate G's, we just divide that by 9.81 and we get, drum roll, 153 G's. So that's pretty crazy. This means that the disc is accelerating 153 times faster than it would if it were in free fall on Earth. Next, I'm going to calculate the peak force on the disc. So it's calculated by mass times acceleration. And since we already know that the mass is 175 grams, we just multiply that by 1502.4 meters per second squared, and we get a force of 262 newtons. And then you can convert that to pounds just on Google or something, and it gets us 58.94 pounds of force right at the peak there. Next, I'm going to calculate the peak power that was put into the disc. This calculation is a little more involved, but I'll carry you through it. So power is calculated by the change in energy over the change in time. And so what I'm going to do is calculate the energy at the second frame and subtract the energy at the first frame. And the equation for energy is 1/2 times mass times velocity squared. And we have all those things. We have mass is 175 grams, and we have the velocity are 19.56 and 13.3. So just canceling some things out in the equation here and factoring out the 1/2 mass, we get 240 times 1/2 times the mass times V2 squared minus V1 squared. Now I sub in V1 and V2 to get 19.56 and 13.3, and it works out to 4,300 watts. And converting that to horsepower is 5.79 horsepower. So at that moment, the peak power going into my disc was 5.79 horsepower, which is pretty cool. So what does this all mean in context? 5.79 horsepower sounds cool, but I'm going to give you some references to compare it to other things that you might know better. An astronaut in liftoff experiences about 3 Gs of acceleration. My disc's peak acceleration was 50 times that. A top fuel dragster experiences about 5 Gs of acceleration. And a fighter pilot can pull up to 9 Gs of acceleration. And the Bugatti Chiron, one of the fastest cars in the world, puts out about 1,500 horsepower. Okay, never mind. That's a lot more than my disc golf throw, but I just wanted to throw that in there. And one horse puts out 1 horsepower, I guess. To summarize, my peak acceleration was 153 Gs, My peak force was 58 pounds, and my peak power was 5.79 horsepower, or around 4,300 watts. Does any of this mean much? Not really, but is it fun to overanalyze? 100%. Thanks so much if you stuck around to the end. I'm really excited to make more videos like this soon, and definitely be sure to subscribe if you're interested in those. Signing out.